Welcome to Attican Plays Railway Empire.
All right, hi, this is Attican and welcome to another Railway Empire video. This one is going to be a compilation of some of the great feedback I've gotten on the channel, and I wanted to share some of this with you. I try to do a good job of sharing things with you, but I just can't keep up with all the great stuff people keep putting in comments on our channel. So I'll start out, actually this video was inspired by a comment on the channel from Cappuccinissimo. Cappuccinissimo wrote, what I like about this channel is that it's kind of a learning this game together thing. Amen, Cappuccinissimo. That's exactly what I like about this channel too. There is no question that the great feedback that you guys have given me has made me a better player. I hope I've helped you be a better player as well and enjoy this game even more. But there's no question that I've improved over the months of playing this game from comments from our community. So let's start out with one from Leonidas Savalas. Now, Leonidas has written several really good comments. This is, as you can see, this was 5 months ago that he wrote this. And I have acknowledged this without mentioning his name in other videos, but I just wanted to mention the name and say you ought to go out and read his comments. This big long post right here is a really good one. And there's a lot of good stuff in it, but let me share with you a couple things that really kind of stuck with me that have helped me. So first one is, when you are laying a line, I remember when I first started playing, I tended to do this kind of thing. I would click to get my line started, and then I would be, constantly hitting and bumping and dragging and making clicks all over the place. It was a noisy process. So what Leonidas said was, well, let's say we're doing a point to point, just click where you want it to start. So I'm doing a left click there, then scroll up real high, move over to where you want it to end, scroll down, and then you can you can snap it into place and finish off your connection, and boom, there you go. There's a nice, easy to do point-to-point connection. And it's even easier if you're doing a kind of the more standard double track kind of thing with two platforms. We just simply go into track mode. We click on the one cone, scroll up real high, scroll back down because we can get there quickly, and click right there, and boom, it's done. All right, that was number one. And that may seem like a little thing, but it just makes it so much easier and so much quieter when I'm doing these. So I've been trying to get better at that, and I think I've managed. So here's number two that was a big one from him. Now keep in mind, I've got the super station, so there's already these X's built. There's already a junction here. And if we want to set our directional signals, and I've shown this one in other videos as well, okay, we go into signal mode, and we just say, okay, we want to ride on the right, so I'm going to just move into this one. I'm going to hold down, and this is a PC. On the console, you'll do something different, but you should have the same functionality. I'm going to hold Control Shift, and notice that Control Shift gives me the stop signal, so you can only go in one direction. And if I just hit my middle mouse button and spin it, not only does it set it in the correct direction, going up the screen the way we want it, but you'll notice it also jumps up there to the top and puts the final signal right there at the entrance into the junction, which is right where you'd want it. So I'm going to left click, and there's one side. Now to go to the other side, I'm still holding down Control and Shift. I just scoot over to this side and then spin it so it's pointed in the right direction. And here, notice what it did was it actually went up to the other end and started from up there. And you'll notice it leaves out one right here. See that? It doesn't put one right in there. Once I spin it back and to go to down screen, it leaves space for train to come out, and that sets up a perfect entry exit kind of scenario. And that was super simple. And now I've got these beautiful stop signals all the way back and forth, and I did practically nothing. Just Control Shift, make sure the direction is correct and click it, go to the other one, keep that Control and Shift down, make sure your direction is correct by spinning it around, spinning that middle mouse wheel and click it, and you've got yourself some track. So those are the two big things I picked up from Leonidas, but there are a lot of other good things he wrote, so I would encourage you to go out and read his post. And I should probably add on that control shift by setting all those signals, there were many of you, multiple people who sent that comment in. So I shouldn't make it sound like Leonidas is the only one who brought up that idea. There were several of you who commented, so thank you all for that. Too many for me to go back and try to figure it all out, but thank you all. So here's our next one. This is contributed by Pedro Felipe Marquez Moreira. Whoa, I butchered that last one, sorry. Pedro Felipe Marquez Moreira. I think that's right. So Pedro watched me do it, setting up the lines, and he pointed out this one, which I thought's great. Now, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to practice this because I've played this game so much, my habits are so ingrained. But if I wanted to run a wheat line into Grand Rapids, if I go in here and hit setup line, and you'll notice we've got the green area where we can pick here and here. If I hold down the shift key when I pick up Perry Farm, I've got shift and left click. Notice what happens. The detail dialog pops up right when I'm setting this up. This is beautiful because now I can say max, or I want to run 8 and go. And then I can go down here and hit shift. And now I just happen to have a super station, so I can't pick a track. But what's nice about hitting the shift and having that dialog pop up right away is if I wanted to specify a track on a normal regular station, I could do that here and then hit accept and then go, and my train is gone. So remember that when you're setting up a line, if you hit if you hit the shift key and then click, you get that detailed dialog and allows you to set up your thing. And once you get it, then you can hit shift on the other end and do what you need to do, and off you go. And the other good thing about that one is if you hit, let me start this one again. If I hit shift and I get this one up, I can go over here. I can see both of these, this guy, the new rail line, and the details of that one station. And I can go over here and change something around without messing this up. Right, so I can set my minimum or whatever. Or if I go in here and change this, you know, see how they kind of work. You don't get that mess up where I used to go in and I'd start one and then I would go over here and change it to freight and everything's messed up. So getting in the habit of doing it Pedro's way is really a great idea. So thank you, Pedro. So now I've loaded the scenario, the second scenario on the west map, the 1891, called Pacific Coast. That's the one that kept crashing on me and I couldn't do it for months. Finally was able to do it. And Ken Sweezo wrote back a great question. He said, have you ever considered this? And I'm just going to show it to you. It's easier to just show you. Remember that in this one, and occasionally you'll have a task like buy so much of somebody. So in this case, we've got buy 50% of Beatrix stock. And that can be tough if you're a player, particularly if you're relatively new, kind of a beginner to average player in this game. This particular scenario, if you're playing along and you're just trying to, you know, tick these tasks off as you go, when you get down to this buy 30% of a competitor, particularly if you do it like I do and play on very hard, that's going to be a lot. You're going to need a lot of money to do that. Well, Ken had a great idea. If we go look at Beatrix, here she is, let's see, what would it cost to buy 30% of her? It would cost us $1.2 million, right? Well, we've got $1 million. Well, why don't we just go out and immediately open our bonds, which you know we're going to do anyway. Now, they'll be a little bit smaller because we haven't built up a company values much, but that's okay. Now we've got plenty of money, $1.5 million. Now, if we just go in here and say, okay, Beatrix, first thing we do before we do anything else, we just buy 30% of Beatrix. Boom. Okay. Now, notice that task is completed. But look, we only got $200,000 now. We're dead, right? Because we're how are we going to build up our economy? Well, that's easy. Now we're just going to go back, and this was Ken's idea. We're just going to go back to Beatrix and sell her shares back. Boom. Notice we actually made $10,000. Well, no, I take that back. But we're back practically where we were. We've got $1.5 million to do our thing. And, by the way, we are finished with one of the more difficult tasks on this scenario. Now, you don't have enough money to buy out the 50%. In this particular case, you don't have enough money at the beginning to buy out the 50% of, who is it? In this case, Tricia. It varies, by the way, it varies. Every time you fire this up, you get a different combination of people. But at any rate, I thought that was a brilliant idea to get something done quickly and to be able to move on without any harm done and then get on your way with doing the rest of your stuff. So thank you, Ken, for that. And you don't have to do this right at the beginning. That was kind of my take on this. Ken's point was you could do this at any point where you had enough money to execute that buy. Now, this next tip comes from Featherwings. And this one is about research in one very specific area. Now, if you've noticed it, if you watch very many of my videos, I rarely worry that much about which locomotive I have, as long as within certain constraints. One is, if you're doing a passenger mail line, definitely get a train that does express. And if you're doing a freight line, make sure you have a freight train that has good tractive power so that it can handle the load. Now, but within those constraints, within all these different time periods, I really don't pay that much attention to the trains. Occasionally it matters, but most of the time I'm not that worried about it. But here's the one exception. In 1830, when we're first starting out, we have that little old Grasshopper. It only has 11% tractive power, and it only goes 15 miles an hour. I mean, it's just a little tiny engine on a, I mean, these guys could pump it by hand and do about as well. So it's not much of a, it's my favorite train because it's our first one, but it doesn't get very much done. So what we want to do in our research, and this is Featherwing's notion, and I agree with him, is target the John Bull or one of the other more advanced trains. So kind of target your research to get out here to grab the John Bull and upgrade your trains as quickly as you can to it. Why? Because it now has 21% tractive power versus 11. That's double tractive power. And double tractive power when you're down at 11% is a big deal. And a lot of those inclines, and even on this map, this particular one I pulled up here is early scenario where you have to, let's see, which one is this? Yeah, this is the one where you have to build New York. New York, called Metropolis. You have to build New York to a huge size. And the deal with it, that's hard, all these mountains. You're going to have some slopes on your line, so make sure you target the John Bull for the 1830s or one of the other more advanced trains so that you can get faster trains running through all these slopes. So thank you, Featherwings, for that idea. Now, I'm not going to show you these next ones, but I want to just mention them because I should have said a lot about them before. Jerome Weston for helping to simplify how we do the line assignments on the pass-through warehouses. You can see that you can see the pass-through warehouse in the pass-through video, and you can see the more simplified setups in every video I did after that, after he made that comment. So thank you, Jerome. And there's a bunch of good stuff Jerome has posted on how he's played some of the scenarios as well. I would encourage you to go read those. He's got some great ideas. We've already done a video on Johnny Hughes' idea of the three-city cluster with a single pass-through warehouse. Great variation on the three-city cluster and pass-through warehouse ideas that Johnny did. And you can go watch the video on that, the quick guide on that one. And then Kaveh Hajwashiri is actually the person who kind of came up with the idea of the pass-through rural stations. And if you go back and watch my playthroughs of the Viva Mexico DLC and look at those two playthroughs of the scenarios, I use Kaveh's idea of the pass-through rural stations to great effect on those videos. So there's plenty of other stuff here to talk about. There's some other ideas. Actually, I went back and found some more that I'm going to noodle around with. And if you guys like this, I may come up with another video showing even some more ideas that have come from our users. And I would encourage you, please, if you're a good player, share what you do. And by the way, even if you're a newcomer, ask your questions. Don't hesitate. I try to get back to everybody. If you ask a question, I'll try to answer it as best I can. We have other players on here who watch the comments, and they'll give you great answers sometimes. Ask your questions, and those questions could very easily inspire future videos. So please participate and join the community and help us all grow together. And let's remember Cappuccinissimo's comment. What I like about this channel is that it's kind of a learning this game together thing.
I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Railway Empire video. Thank you.